Buried alive model. Often referred to as its code, the Berryman script, the buried alive model was to be found on the final story of the Pokemon Tower and was now been replaced with the Marowak ghost. According to the scripts assigned to it, the buried alive model was intended to be the boss of the tower. Once reaching the top floor, the following conversation would have taken place with the model. "You're here. I'm trapped, and I'm lonely, so very lonely. Won't you join me?" After this, the battle would have begun. Once in battle view, the buried alive model would appear to be a decaying human corpse, attempting to crawl out of the ground. It had been programmed to have 2 white hands, a Gengar, and a Muck. Strangely enough, a protocol for the buried alive's actions after it was defeated were not written. In the case of the player defeating him, the game would freeze. However, a specific ending was written by an unknown programmer upon losing the battle. In this ending, the buried alive would have stated, "Finally, fresh meat," followed by several lines of gibberish. The scene would finish with a typical game over screen. However, in the background, an image of the buried alive character devouring the player was to have been shown. Especially particular were the protocols after this scene. The cartridge was to download this image to a small internal memory contained in the Game Boy, overriding the title screen that normally accompanied a Game Boy turning on. Instead, whenever it was started, the player would view this image. As a sound file, static mesh.wave was played. The intended purpose for this effect, unlike many of the other factors leading towards Lavender Town Syndrome, is unknown. And that, Metal Pups, was Buried Alive model. My final thoughts on the story? This is actually pretty interesting. Like, I'm not lying, this is pretty interesting. And how the story immediately got creative with this type of character is actually pretty interesting. And it does make you think, did this really happen in Pokemon? Is Buried Alive actually real? You know, and I'm just imagining, the employees at Nintendo going, "Okay, so Buried Alive's not working, the game freezes if the player wins, he just eats up the player if they lose, and everything's all messed up, so let's just switch it with the Marowak ghost instead." Yeah, that'd be pretty weird. That is a pretty weird thought to think of. But regardless, this is pretty interesting overall. So, as a rating, I give it a 10 out of 10. I hope pups like this spoopy little creepypasta, and I will see you next time. This is our peer reminding to stay awesome, stay strong, and stay beautiful. And sweet dreams, pups.